And I do whatever. I was willing to do whatever for that validation, just to be loved, just to hear "I love you." I would tolerate things just to hear "I love you" to me, and it was.
I call them beta days.
Roll me, Mac.
What's something you're not proud of in your past relationships? Something not proud of. Throwing tantrums. Yeah. Throwing adult tantrums stemming from childhood experiences, resulting in coming out in adult relationships. That's not something I'm very proud of. I remember dating this one young lady when I was in Miami. And we had been seeing each other for a little while. We actually worked together for a little bit, not in the same office, but on base. And you know what I'm saying? Like, we started dating, and she had a very stern personality. And I didn't know how to categorize it then, but I would learn obviously later on what that was. But we would be like together, and I think I was at her spot one time, and I don't know what it was, but she just kept complaining, right? She kept complaining about something, and I did what I always do. When I get upset, I start, that shit. And literally, she looked at me like, this nigga's a child. You know what I'm saying? It was like, that was the reaction that I received from it. And truth be told, she was accurate. But I wouldn't know it. So when I'm running business, doing things and all of that, I don't recognize what needs to be healed until I'm involved in something that requires emotion. So what I've learned for myself, maybe you've learned this too, is that there are parts of you that you haven't healed, loved, haven't given enough attention to yourself, not for somebody else to do it, but for yourself, that it comes out when you are involved in relationships with others, especially like intimate relationships. So in that moment, I threw what I would call it. How I would engage in conflict is something else I'm not necessarily proud of, because I would respond like defensive and being loud, trying to be seen, trying to be heard, trying to be loved. And I would just be like to the top of my lungs loud in a debate with that young lady, whoever that young lady was. But that's not something I'm necessarily proud of. It is, however, what needed to come out because it more than likely had been buried for some time. It's just not being heard. But overall, just my understanding of what I want to be as a man, there are ways to express yourself without losing your shit. And I lost my shit. I lost my shit over little things. And I think that was more the fear of abandonment. So the interesting part about those of us who like that had dealt with like fear of abandonment, we act in a way that makes people want to abandon your ass. And that's that's just laughing at yourself and recognizing like, I wouldn't want to be around that shit. But just acting in a way that is going to essentially push people away. You self-sabotage, in short. But it's taking accountability for your actions. But in those times, looking back at those relationships in my 20s and I'll say early 30s, because that's the last time I was in a committed relationship. But like through those times, looking back at that boy that was essentially dating his trauma is what I was doing. I was in a trauma bond, as they call it. I was dating familiar parts of my childhood and what I saw, and wondering why it was not something healthy. I don't believe I've ever seen a healthy relationship before, if I'm being honest. You become your surroundings. Like yelling really loud, trying to be heard in a conversation, that's not going to solve the problem. Me talking louder than you is not going to solve the problem. And me treating the debate like it's me versus you doesn't solve the problem. Now looking at it from, all right, it's us versus the issue, that changes things. But in those moments where you get triggered, you're back against, you're a cat in a corner and somebody is trying to, or a dog in a corner, you're going to do whatever it takes to fight back. It's survival mode at that point. Parts of me that I'm not proud of, the way that the way that I used to talk to women, girls rather. I think we were fairly young, but the way I used to talk to girls, like very playful. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like constantly, like when she's trying to be serious about something, I'm coming up with the next best line that I know Jim Carrey, Eddie Murphy, Martin Lawrence would do in that situation. So pretty much acting like Martin on that episode when Gina is trying to talk to him about getting married, and he's doing the best he can to avoid the situation. That's because those were my examples. Like, I wanted to do comedy at one point in time. So this is what I would see. These are the people that influenced me. So Martin was one of my biggest, if not the biggest influence of my childhood. So when I engaged in relationships, that's who I became, because it made me feel calm. Because again, girls make you nervous when you are just starting out and you don't really know what the fuck you're doing. So I'm going to do what makes me calm. Watching Martin always made me calm. So I acted like the TV version of like Martin. I don't recommend it. I certainly do not recommend doing so, because it did not do well for them relationships as far as like trying to be funny all the time. But looking back at it, I can laugh at it and see the immaturity in myself, and being very grateful for the turnaround and learning, I'd say, more efficient ways of the masculine. Not so much being childish, throwing tantrums, learning to be calm rather, because it's the total opposite. I literally did the 180 for myself, I would say, like being very, trying to be seen, trying to be funny, loud, wherever I went. And now I believe, I would say that about myself, that I'm a lot more calm. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, if my buttons are pressed a little bit, I can definitely unleash. I can definitely unleash, and that's a triggered moment. It's a very, very triggered moment that I'm still working through, but for the most part, very, very calm. I just don't recommend anyone trying to piss me off. That's not a threat. That's just me knowing myself. You know what I'm saying? Like there's still some there's still some healing needs to be done. He ain't through with me yet, as Steve Harvey would say about God. He ain't through with me yet. So, but those things about the relationship, like things about me in the past relationships, yeah, just not being able to communicate well, the shutting down, a hell of a lot worse than what I would say I would show today. Just to the point, because I never felt seen. Being I never felt seen, there's no point in talking to you because you're not going to try to understand. I'm used to being with somebody who always cut you off, dismissed how you felt, dismissed what you said, and just left it like that. But still not having the love for self enough to walk away from something like that. And that's what I'm not so proud of from the past. The ability to walk away. I did not have that. I dealt with some shit from women. I did. I dealt with some shit from women that I put myself into. I take full accountability. I won't say, you know what I'm saying? I'm not putting it on anybody else but me. I tolerated it. I didn't like it, but I tolerated it, and I did not have the courage to change myself. I didn't have the courage to change the situation, try to talk those things out, but I think that was fear of abandonment. More so, like if I say something, then they're gonna leave me. So I'm okay with being alone, but the feeling of being left, that's the shit that used to scare the fuck out of me. That's where the abandonment comes in, somebody leaving you. But I'm okay with being by myself. Like that's not an issue. The issue is getting close to someone, and then for that to for that to go away. Ego, fear of, the fear of abandonment, trying to control the situation, trying to control someone else. Just the ego games. That's what, I played. I played a lot more ego games than I play right now. That's what I can say. But those parts of me revealed the parts of me that needed work, that needed to be healed. So still very grateful for going through it. I know I could have saved myself some time if I had not, but had I not gone through it, I wouldn't know what I know now. I wouldn't have learned the lessons about myself, number one, those parts of me that needed to have some focus so that I could be better for myself. Not anybody else. This is just solely about me. Me versus me is all this life is, and trying to become the best version of yourself. And in those parts of the relationship, another part of myself that I was not so proud of is I lost myself. I gave my identity to whoever I was dating. I wanted to do whatever they wanted to do. I wanted to be wherever they wanted me to be. I lost my identity. I didn't know who the fuck I was. Because I put you on a pedestal. And being I put you on a pedestal, I'm not good enough, so I gotta become what you are so that I can be good enough in my eyes. And most of the time it was the opposite. As in they were somewhat doing the same thing. But it's interesting how you see things from your lenses versus the other person's. But yeah, I just really wanted to be good enough. Constantly chasing validation was the goal. And I'd do whatever. I was willing to do whatever for that validation, just to be loved, just to hear I love you. I would tolerate things just to hear I love you to me. And it was, I called them beta days. Those were the beta days, the beta tales, in which you believed just because a girl said I love you, that she meant it, that she actually meant it. But you didn't compare actions. You dealt with the breadcrumbs, and just because she said I love you, because you didn't really feel like that type of love, you know what I'm saying, beforehand. So it's like you're afraid to leave this situation because you may not get this again, FOMO. And I think we've all dealt with that shit. I believe we've all dealt with that shit, where we felt like, this is it, man. No one's ever gonna treat me better. And now my happiness is depending upon this person versus my own self, my own validation. And that's the things you learn when you go through shit. When you are put in a situation where it's left with nothing but you, God, the universe, and space and opportunity, you find out how fucking strong you are, and have the courage to go through that shit. Man, woman, don't care who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are more powerful than you give yourself credit for at times. Don't get me wrong, relationships, intimate relationships can bring out a lot of weaknesses in us, which are strengths at the same time, because it's love. So it's perspective. But because people know that you will give more love than what you receive, they will take advantage of you. Some will definitely do so. And it's learning to have that self-love. You know what I'm saying? Like really teaching yourself to have self-love to the point where you do not require anyone's validation anymore. Now, it's challenging, don't get me wrong. Especially if you've never seen it done before, if you never no one's ever taught you how to do self-love. But there's anything we want to do, we can learn how to do in this life. It may take some time, it may take us a short amount of time, but you can figure it out. And learning to love yourself is one of the greatest gifts you could ever give yourself. So you're able to recognize when someone does not value you, when someone does not love you or know how to treat you, then you teach them how to do so. And if it's not serving you anymore, it teaches you to get the fuck up from the table so you can go to the next level. So you're not going down. Then those days are over. Everything's moving up. So once that person has taught you what the God in the universe wanted them to teach you, and you don't see that there's any more growth, then it's time to move up to the next level. It's nothing personal. It's just part of the journey. And again, nothing is yours. As I say all the time, nothing is ours. And it's just an experience, and being able to appreciate that. So the parts of me that I'm not so proud of, I'm actually very grateful for. But those were a few other parts of me that I certainly didn't care too much to look back on in my life. But like I said, without it, I don't have present day me. Do you believe love alone is enough to make a relationship last? No, it's not. It's not enough. Especially the fact that men and women love differently. Understanding this is very key for men. Men and women love very, very differently. And it's not a right or wrong thing. It's just what it is. So, for me as a man, there's respect must come, like I've been in situations where I've been with a woman and she's talked to me like I wasn't shit, and said I love you at the end of the night. And I stayed in it because it was very familiar to me, coming from where I come from. But there comes a time where you're going to have to make a decision. You're going to get tired of waiting for this illusion of a person to show up and give you the love that you believe that they have based off of this idea you came up in your mind of them. And they're not responsible for the idea of them in your mind. You are. So it's like learning to love what you see in the present moment, not going on potential. And if potential is making you feel like shit, that's what it is. Okay? Love is not enough to make a relationship last. I believe that, and mind you, I'm novice because I, as far as relationships go, I'm not married. So, I'm not here to give marriage advice, but I can speak on what I've learned as to what is healthy to allow a person to feel seen, heard, and loved. And that's the thing. It's like learning how to make a man feel seen, heard, and loved, how to make a woman feel seen, heard, and loved. And as a man, I view love as respect. If you don't trust me to lead, then I don't believe you when you tell me you love me. Because if you feel like you have to be a mom for me, there's a lack of respect there. You're going to talk to me a certain way. You're going to tear me down in front of my family. You're going to tear me down in front of my friends. I've lived it, you know, and I've seen the two different sides where I carried myself in a way that seemed like I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, and the relationship I was in, the women treated me like how I carried myself. Now, for me as a man, when a woman doesn't know something, I'm not gonna lie. There was a part of me in my 20s, if a woman seemed as if she didn't know what the fuck she was doing, I was doing what I saw too, just as I'm sure that those young ladies did to me. I was doing this whole thing. I put you here and I was here. And I would talk a certain way. That's my insecurity being projected onto her to keep her there so that she's not able to see that I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Even though she's showing me that she don't know what the fuck she's doing in this particular situation. But all in all, we're just human. Both of us are, we're human. And we're human, but we're just wired differently based on us, one being born male and one being born female. Now, with that being said, love is not enough. Love is certainly not. From my perspective, my experience, love is not enough to carry on a relationship. There is healthy boundaries that have to be had for both sides. And like I said, especially like in a committed relationship and even a marriage, there must be, I believe there would have to be healthy boundaries and having the courage to go through some form of therapy, recognizing the issues that you can take care of before getting involved with somebody else and try to make it their business to fix. It's not their responsibility. They're not responsible for your insecurities. They're not responsible for your happiness. And so it's like, for me, it takes a lot more. And from a financial standpoint, I've known of a few relationships end over finances, and it's understanding what that means because of how what I believe how the female brain is wired is about survival. Yes, I believe men love idealistically, the fairy tale fantasy shit, and women love opportunistically. Yeah. And not even something that I don't think they're purposely trying to do. I just think that's just science it's just survival and making sure that your offspring are taken care of. That is the natural love of a woman, to take care of her offspring. So it used to mean live or die. And we still have the same cave brain we had when we were cavemen and cave women. So it meant a matter of life and death, which is why some people fear being alone. Being alone a long time ago used to mean you may not survive the next day. So it makes sense why we would get fear of abandonment, FOMO, all that shit. But in the sense of like love not being enough, a woman being with a man who has nothing I don't know if she's going to be there but so long, or if that man's going to be respected. That's for sure. And that's what I'm saying. For me as a man, it's seeing love as respect, trust, trusting me to lead, trusting me to guide us. And if a woman does not trust me to lead, does not respect me enough to lead, then I would like for her to be with somebody else that can. Because sitting there with me, talking to me just like I ain't shit, is not going to happen again. It will not happen again. Those boundaries are definitely there and on high alert, recognizing how an individual talks to one another, and at the same time, me not talking to them like, without respect. I'm a firm believer of that, and learning how to have healthy confrontation when needed. Just talking things out and not responding emotionally as much as possible. So there's so many factors. I think there's more factors than love that goes into making a relationship last. I believe people that have been married for years and years and years would say communication is definitely one of those things. Something that can help a relationship last, and this is just a fairy tale world that I see, is that a woman will listen to a man when he shares what he shares without being called a bitch for expressing himself. Because our society does not, in most cases, does not accept men expressing, what's on their mind. So they tend to shut the fuck down. And one can understand that. I mean, just imagine that. We've all been kids who became teenagers. Remember, or even parents now, there's a point in time where your child wouldn't shut the fuck up with everything they had to say to you. And then they started becoming quiet. That did not just happen just because. Something happened that taught them that their voice no longer mattered, and they stopped talking to you. They stopped communicating to you. You dismissed them somehow. So when a person, in this case a man, when a man feels dismissed, why the fuck would he talk to you anymore? And he very well, like some may find that elsewhere. You know what I'm saying? And that's and I've seen that happen. I've lived that. Like I said in my 20s, where you're having those emotional affairs, and because the person that you're with or chose to be with, mind you, so everything's by choice. You chose to be with this person, but they dismiss you, and you don't have the courage enough to leave. So you do fuck shit inside your relationship, and it just creates a world of chaos. Because knowing what I know now, I personally am not sharing. There's one thing of me sharing something with the woman I'm in a committed relationship, marriage with, and I'm more inclined to talk with my brotherhood than a woman about my shit, if I'm being honest. Don't get me wrong, I'll discuss certain things that's going on within the confinements of our relationship, but as far as anything that I might be personally dealing with, I'm going to rely on a brotherhood or a therapist, an unbiased, individual talking to about this thing. That's not to say, and that's more so, it's more so having your shit together. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's important for a man to really understand his own emotional intelligence. I do not want to give off the impression that I will not say anything to the woman that I'm with. That's not what this is saying. This is talking about like issues that you have to deal with on your own. Now, something between us, I'm looked to as a leader. I have to sort shit out. If you're at war and your general, who's in charge is, of the war, of your team, your battle, if they look lost and confused in leadership, are you going to still have the same respect for them? You know what I'm saying? So that's my theory on that. It's not to say that I wouldn't share anything with the woman I'm seeing. It's more so like what you share and how you go about doing it. Like there's a certain way of man, for me as a man, that I'm going to carry myself as far as being respected as a leader. And there are days where it's gonna feel like shit. There's gonna be a few days where you feel like shit, but you stick it out and you learn how to get out of it. That's the beauty of, like I said, just sitting with yourself, sitting with your emotions, and knowing how to manage them, and recognizing that you're not your emotions too. But like, love not being enough. The short version of it is, it comes down to the type of woman that for the type of woman that you're with, the type of man that you're interested in, the healthy boundaries, what their childhood was like, very important. That's very, very key. In most cases, people are running on autopilot, as we discussed in previous episodes. So they're going to perceive you to behave the way that they just came from. And when you don't, it distorts their illusions, and then they have to decide whether they want to stay in this shit or if they want to move on. and that happens to a lot of us. So having healthy boundaries, having ways to communicate, and learning for men to communicate like how a man is masculine can communicate, and a woman to communicate how a woman or feminine can communicate. So that's just allowing a woman to feel safe enough to be in her feminine so that she can communicate honestly what's going on in her mind, and also like for a woman to allow a man to feel confident in his own essentially feminine energy while still being masculine, if that makes sense, to express oneself as far as what's on his mind. Like learning to express your emotions but not being emotional is what I would say to do for a man. Learning how to express your emotions, like from like a clinical level of like studying, emotional intelligence, mental health, whatever, so whatever they teach us in therapy, and then but not being emotional. Not being emotional. That's how I would kind of describe it. But to answer the question, do I believe love is enough for a relationship to last? No. It takes more than that. It takes a lot more for us as people to really just generate things. Now, granted, it's so weird. Like we're the same, but all of us are different, unique as far as like how we go about doing things. But all in all, we all want to be seen, heard, and loved. So how does one maintain feeling seen, heard, and loved? How does a man maintain his ambition? That's very key. So I'm saying, like, it's very important for us as men to maintain, we have that ambition. And that's just, to me, that's just a part of masculinity, is constantly working towards the next goal so that you can be able to provide for the family in which you have, whether that be just a woman, whether that be a woman and kids, whether that be multiple, like all your family, like let's say you're the one that takes care of all of your family. Some people are in that position to where they're taking care of their wife and kids as well as their mother or father, that's getting older and all that stuff. So constantly working on new things so that you can provide for them, and also being present to communicate, to listen, and hopefully you get the same thing on the end. But from the woman you're seeing, the family that you have, like hopefully they value what a man has to say, and when he wants to share, and doesn't just look at him as a tool that just goes to work, gives us money, and then goes on about his day type thing, but actually valuing you as a man. So definitely shout out to the women who really do value men, outside of just being, like for money. Because in today's society, women make their own money too. You know what I mean? It's not like, the old days. But just wanted to give a special shout out to, all the men who actually stand up and work on their masculine on a day-to-day basis. And number two, to the women who really do value men operating in their masculine and don't feel threatened by that, and understand that everything they do is to take care of you and whatever else that you have inside your family dynamic. So much appreciated to both of those groups. What's the best compliment you've ever received? It's a toss between two. I feel safe with you, around you, and also you're a teacher. Yeah. There was one time I was out, and I don't know, this couple, they overheard me talking, and cat comes up to me, and he's like, yo, keep doing what you do. I could tell you're a teacher. I don't even know this dude. But he just came up. It was just very It's very random, but very grateful when the universe has these moments and just assures that, I'm on my path. I don't know about anybody else's path, but I'm on my path and of my purpose and what I believe I've been called to do. So, but yeah, just definitely hearing women who like have previously operated in like their masculine say that they feel safe around me or even that are in their masculine say that they feel safe around me is definitely one of the biggest compliments for me as a man, to hear that, and it's not taken for granted. By any means, it's not taken for granted. So the best compliments I could say that I've received is that toss between I feel safe with you, I feel safe around you, as well as you're a teacher. What's the biggest dating red flag you ignored in the past? Talking to me like you lost your goddamn mind, using sarcasm to tear me the fuck down, making me feel, well, I mean, you can't really make me feel anything, it's my choice, but going out of your way to talk down to me as if you are essentially better. It's all part of it. I allowed it. So it's all on, like I said, it's all on me. What a person does has nothing to do with you, but your response to what they do is solely on you. And dating red flag, projecting insecurities and leaving me to fix it. And that was on me again. I was trying to, I was doing the role in which I was taught as a kid to fix the situation, be the fixer, the people pleaser. So I became essentially like my parents' parent, being responsible for how they felt about shit, and instead of the opposite way where it's like the parent attends to the child. So you grow up becoming a parent to those that are around you, and you attract those who are looking for parents, and that's how you end up in those situations. We all been there, some of us, you know what I'm saying? Like you fall into like that parent role in a relationship, and you become responsible for emotions, and you let that person just project their insecurities, like, you were looking at her or some shit, and it's like, no, it wasn't. And then like you trying to fix the situation. You've seen it in sitcoms and movies. Baby, I'm sorry, what can I do? And it's like, who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you that I have to pander to your insecurities? Like, no, learn. Grow the fuck up, if anything. Both of us needed to grow the fuck up. I had to learn to not be a parent to somebody else's child that's grown, and you have to learn how to be more mature. We got all got our issues, but yeah, I was prone to do that. I was prone to doing that, and I would fall right back into it. I would try to fix the situation. It felt I felt like it was my way to being seen. If I can fix your problems, if I can take on the mess that you had in your life, I would take it on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember one time I was in a relationship and the girl lost her job and her car, and we lived close to an hour, so 40 minutes to an hour away from one another. Guess who took that on? Superman did. You know what I'm saying? Wasn't healthy at all. I mean, I just wasn't in a good space mentally anyway, but I just knew that this is what a guy's supposed to do. He's supposed to take care of the situation. No, simping. I was simping hard back then without knowing. I was definitely in a place where I wanted to fix everything. I wanted to take on everybody's problems. Whatever was going on, I was going to be the one to fix it, and just took it on because it made me feel like a man, or whatever the fuck I thought back then. And I was just taking on unnecessary stress, unnecessary shit on my plate, trying to be seen, trying to prove that I'm lovable. And so red flags, there was just too much on the plate. I took on so much from So many. And then I would get, be trying, and that was me being the nice guy. Nice guy taking on shit and then being resentful. And that's when I started to learn the difference between being, nice, codependent, versus I can be kind. Kind is when you do essentially acts of kindness and you don't expect anything in return. Nice is like, I'm doing this and I'm thinking they're going to do the same thing for me, and they're resentful when they don't. I don't know. Learn to give unconditionally, love unconditionally. So it put me on a path down where I was very resentful towards everybody, every fucking body. And it was really just about me not having healthy boundaries. So yeah, very much a big dating red flag. Looking at that, another red flag in dating, I'd say, was not being honest. I was very much in my beta mindset, beta days, where I was resentful. I was quiet about shit. I just kept, allowing things to go down when I wasn't okay with it. And it was, and it kept building over time until it became a, the snowball effect, until it became an avalanche, and it just exploded in everybody's face that was involved. So learning to essentially set boundaries, have a frame, which I did not have. I did not have frame. Like, I would be assertive on things, getting things done, but I didn't have a frame. Like, I was, you could walk all over me, just because you said you loved me. And that was another red flag on my part. The fact that I would just let anyone do whatever they wanted to do. I just like, fuck it, I'm used to being shitted on, so all right, fine, I'll take it, and just keep taking it, and then have people commit the same crime over and over again. They knew I was going to forgive them, so I just kept coming back for fear of being alone. And then, I learned that I'm all right by myself. So when I get around certain energy now, and I'm not feeling it, I remove myself without notice. And it's best for my mental health. Like, taking on, again, talking to a woman and then having them try to make their problems my problems. No, I used to do it. I used to take on your problems and be like, oh, don't worry about it, baby. I'll take care of it. I'll get it if it's my, you know what I'm saying? And not like making plans type shit. More like, I got some issues going on with like, whatever, my mom and my dad or whatever it is, and I'm just trying to be involved in the middle of that shit. Nope. I got issues with like, I don't know, a bill or something. Those are your bills. That's not our bills. Those are your bills. So making that, again, the whole car situation, I made it my problem by going every weekend, for that matter, to go and get my then girlfriend to be back at my house, not doing anything. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna say she didn't do anything. She did definitely do stuff around the apartment. I don't want to give off like she was a freeloading thing, but it was definitely a part of making their problems my problems, for the simple fact of not having like a vehicle and a job, so it was challenging, but like I said, I was in scent mode. I was very much like I was in my beta mindset, and I took on a lot of shit that I didn't have to take on because my life was okay. But when you take on another person's problems, you take on the shit that comes with it. And it's unfortunate, man. It's unfortunate. But, you live and you learn. I said operating in your, essentially operating your masculine. And that's, like I said, any woman that tries to be a mom to you, yeah, and I mean mom, like the mom to a child who she doesn't trust to do anything, run like hell. Yep, don't even entertain it. Let it go. If she wants to do every fucking thing, she tries to take care of every fucking thing, run like hell. That doesn't get better as time goes on. It only gets worse. You gotta think long term when you see shit, fellas and ladies too. You gotta think long term. But for this situation, I'm still talking to the fellas. I think that's it for this for this time on that question as far as dating red flags. I'm sure there's plenty more, but that's all I got for right now. But yeah, we are at the end of this one. This is Romy Mac in the episode. I'm out. Good night, kids. Where did you spend the most time when you were a kid? I'm gonna say when I was younger, grandma's house, Sarah Long's house. Stayed a lot, whether it was in the front yard, backyard, playing basketball or playing basketball around the neighborhood. At my cousin's friend's house, he had a dirt court. So don't wear any shoes you didn't want to get fucked up. That's for sure. You just had to have some fucked up ass shoes that were durable to play ball. But I learned a lot watching my cousin play, watching his friends, play, and the style in which they played, being from me living in Virginia and then coming to Maryland, and just you could see the different styles of basketball. And those who play ball know what I'm talking about. Like the way that people play in Miami is a little bit different than how people play in New York, how they play in Jersey, Carolinas, Georgia, Texas, definitely Indiana, the heart of basketball where basketball is created. But it taught me a lot to spend that time, like I said, at grandma's house. Lots of video games we played, Madden, NBA Jam, NBA Live, wrestling games galore, especially when Nintendo 64 came out. That was what we did. We played basketball, we played football, we played wrestling games, some baseball here and there, and definitely Contra, and a list of other games for Nintendo. But as I got older, I would still spend time like some summers with my grandma, but it would, and we played at the Kappa League and won one championship compared to my cousin who won multiple, but kept chasing the shadow. I was just trying to be like him. And as far as from basketball, from playing basketball to playing video games to chasing girls, whatever it was, I was chasing his shadow. So, but as I got older, I spent a lot of time in my room. And in my room, it was a lot of TV watching and studying comedy. I would watch Martin episodes back to back to back. I'd watch In Living Color. I'd watch Def Comedy Jam. I would watch the movies that were out, like the animation movies that were out at the time. So for me, there's nothing better than The Lion King. Lion King is my favorite animation movie of all time. There was Aladdin, Aristocats, Toy Story, Pocahontas, The Jungle Book for sure, 101 Dalmatians, Prince of Egypt, Joseph and the King of Dreams, watching Heckle and Jekyll, Looney Tunes, Popeye, and these are all things I would just watch in my room. So I spent a lot of time there as a kid. And then when I started to get a job, I would spend most of my time at McDonald's in the grill, truth be told, and just being around, learning to be around adults and seeing, I wasn't able to see it then, but I can look back at like somebody that was like in their 50s and 60s working at a fast food joint. Nothing against them, but that's just, I don't think that's what they had panned out to do, but it was just something to do. And seeing people that were in their mid-20s now still working at McDonald's, and a lot of us were either going off to college or we were going to be to the military. So I saw a lot of what I didn't want for myself. And I said there's no shade against those that were doing it. It's just for myself, I did not want to end up there. But when I did start working at McDonald's, I would spend a lot of time in my room. And if I wasn't in my room, I was at my boy Rashad's house, and we would spend a lot of time in his room talking about girls, talking about music, movies, whatever was out. And then, but yeah, most like as a younger kid, playing outside. I spent a lot of time outside, like at the Burbage Grant pool, in the pool in Burbage Lake. Then, of course, walking back and forth from our friends' houses to play basketball. It was either at Mac's house, God rest his soul. There would be tournaments over Darius' house. There would be us hanging out at Marquise's house, listening to whatever the latest album that came out. I remember us being in his garage, and the first time I heard Notorious Thugs by Bone Thugs and Harmony and Biggie. And we're kids, you know, we're like middle school. This is 6th grade? Yeah, I think 6th or 7th grade. So, I mean, you would just find me on a 21 speed, riding up and down Burbage Grant, trying to find fun. That's really all it was. You know, we rode our bikes to play basketball. We rode our bikes to play video games. So yeah, most of the time spending a kid was playing video games. Like, that was life. There was nothing greater to me than watching Martin, watching Eddie Murphy movies, starting with The Nutty Professor. Nutty Professor and Life. Yeah, I probably watched Nutty Professor 2 more than I can count. But it would be just The Nutty Professor 2, especially The Grinch when that came out with Jim Carrey, sitting in the room. That's me and my brother would watch that, and watching a lot of music videos too in his room. I would, because the computer was in there, so I would go in there to use the computer, use sound recorder to record music videos, like the songs off of, like, the audio from the music videos, and that's how I would get my music. Instead of like and then when Napster came, that of course used to take stuff that way. But I mean, most of my time spent as a kid was, yeah, grandma's house, my room, you know, various houses in Burbage Grant growing up, and at work, you know, and working the grill. That's really all I can remember as far as where I would spend my time as a kid.